Now you can enjoy the happiness of the holidays for the next 6 months by paying less and making more money by getting 180 days of picks from your favorite handicapper at a huge discount. This limited time Christmas special gives you a 90-day all-access pass with a handicapper of your choice at WagerTalk.com, plus an additional 90 days of all-access passes at no additional cost, an $849 value. This comes out to just under $5 per day, includes all sports released and any 5% best bets, normally priced at $35 each. Your access with your handicapper will cover NFL through the Super Bowl, college football through the national championship, any NBA and NHL action, including playoff games played during access and the start of the MLB season. Plus, if your handicapper does UFC, soccer, tennis, or any sport, yep, it's included. Happy holidays from everyone at WagerTalk.
Welcome, everybody, to Prop It Up. It is Friday, and Friday not only starts the weekend, it's going to start the new year. That's right, last show of the year, and we are here to make this weekend a proper one through the prop betting markets. Joining me, as always, my fellow prop masters, Matt Josephs from sportsmemo.com and Andrew McInnis from WagerTalk.com. Gentlemen, we have a loaded week in fun stats. Andrew sent me one. Matt sent me. We have a ton. We even have a non-sport fun stat. Let's get into it. Fun stat number one. Philip Lindsay has never fumbled in the NFL. Not one time has Philip Lindsay ever fumbled, which is an amazing run. Fun stat number two. Notre Dame quarterbacks have lost 24 straight starts in the NFL. The last Notre Dame quarterback to start and win an NFL game was Brady Quinn in 2012. Fun stat three. The Miami Dolphins, they now have a 7-game losing streak and a 7-game winning streak in the same season. Next fun stat. The leading rusher in the month of December in the NFL was not Jonathan Taylor. It was Sony Michel. The next one. The Ravens have not had a 100-yard rushing running back the entire season. Matt, you sent me this one. The Chiefs have not allowed a 300-yard passer since week 5. And Andrew, you sent me this NHL on Tuesday. There were 3 games played in the NHL. Those games combined for 33 goals. That's the most in a 3-game set since 1993. And non-sports stat, Pat Sajak celebrated his 40th anniversary hosting Wheel of Fortune. This dude's been hosting Wheel of Fortune for 40 years. It started when I was 2 years old. He doesn't even have to say the phrases. He doesn't even have to say the letters. The guy literally has done nothing for 40 years. Congratulations. That is the biggest winner in life, in my opinion. Pat Sajak. All right, let's bring in the Andrew McInnis.
I like that, Andy. I like that one.
Seriously, he doesn't say the letters. The contestants do that. He doesn't push the button. Vanna does that. And then the contestant says the phrase. He doesn't even do that. Well, he doesn't do anything. He could be replaced by a bucket of sand. And he doesn't even spit. All right, anyway.
First of all, I can definitely tell you're a frequent watcher of the show. That's for sure. And number two, I think Andy wants that job after he's done with Wager Talk here.
I know a couple of hosts in the Wager Talk network that you can replace with a bucket of sand and still get the same result.
No, I'm just saying that is the gig of the century.
Because you think about every other game show, Andy, and you're right. He kind of does the least amount of work because
he does nothing.
At least, rest in peace, Alex Trebek. He had to actually read the questions,
Yeah. If you watch an episode, Pat Sajak literally does nothing. So anyway, all right, let's get into it. Andrew, hockey's back, so I know that makes your life a lot more enjoyable. How have things been going this last week?
Well, I was really disappointed they had the World Junior Tournament canceled. I enjoy watching it just in general, Andy, but I also love betting on it. There's a lot of great betting strategies. I was disappointed I didn't actually get to come on here and talk about it. I really was genuinely excited to come on here and talk about props for that tournament. I know it might sound weird. We're betting on 20-year-olds and younger, but it's a tournament of all the top prospects. Anyway, disappointed that got canceled, but NHL came back a few days after that. Picked up right where I left off. I'm 9-2 since the NHL has returned. I'm on a 37-11 run in the NHL, and I have a 5% play going today. And I have hit, I believe, 70% since November of 2019 NHL 5% plays. It's an early start. Go to my page and grab that early start in the NHL. So things are going well, Andy. I didn't really know what to do with myself when there wasn't NHL going on. Everybody knows it's kind of my bread and butter. So happy to have it back here.
Awesome. Great stuff. Yeah. What a bummer about juniors. I know just in years past how excited you've been for those, and then to have it canceled so early was a bummer. Moving on to more positive news. Matt, you've been on quite the run yourself, correct?
Yeah, 14-5 since Tuesday in college football and college basketball. We've got some bowl games on right now as we're doing this show, so we'll see how they turn out. But looking forward to it. I mean, obviously, I'm a little sad that there's not too many bowl games left. Of course, we've got the playoffs later on this afternoon, so that's a lot of fun. And then college basketball, a lot of teams on COVID breaks, coming off a COVID break, so we will attack those as need be, considering I think at one point they said 100 teams were on pause right now. So we'll see how that goes. But college basketball going well as well.
Awesome. Good stuff. Matt Josephs from sportsmemo.com. I'm Andy Lang from WagerTalk.com. Things could not be going better in the NBA for me right now. Cashed 3 5% plays this week. And we got a special promo for player props that are coming up a little bit later. I think we're up to plus 68 units on player props in the NBA just since November 18th. So we got a lot of good stuff. We're going to get into our best bets at the end of the show. But first, let us start with our featured games of the week in the NFL. And no surprise, we're going to go to Matt Josephs, who's going to talk to us about the Eagles and the Washington football team. Football team coming off one of the more embarrassing losses of the season. So, Matt, football team going to be able to rebound, or are the Eagles going to be able to run all over them again?
Well, I don't think they're going to be able to, although the first time the Washington football team, for the most part, had their defensive line, it was just they didn't practice as much. Jonathan Allen and all those guys did end up playing, but they obviously spent most of that week on the COVID list, so that's going to probably be at least what their excuse is for that part of the thing. The one thing is there will be Cam Curl will be back, so Dallas Goedert may not have as much success, although we did just see Dalton Schultz have 8 catches and 80-plus yards against the Washington football team. And then also having Cole Holcomb will be nice for that defense as well. The big thing is, I mean, you're not going to have Miles Sanders on offense for the Eagles. Jordan Howard's going to be questionable, I'm sure. He's got the stinger. I almost want him to be available so I could still hammer Boston Scott props. Boston Scott, if Howard's not available, is going to have 10, 12, 15 carries. So look for the books to potentially hang some low numbers for Scott. You could also get some decent numbers on Kenny Gainwell, although he'll be more used as a receiver. The big question I have is, and we're coming off a game where Jalen Hurts didn't do a lot with regards to running it. I mean, he did not run it, and I think the ankle's still bothering him, but I think they may ask him to carry the ball 8 to 10 times in this game. So we may have to look and see what the Jalen Hurts rushing numbers are and if there's any value there. On the other side, Ron Rivera's come out and said that he wants to play Taylor Heineke, and for some reason he wants to play Kyle Allen. So you might be able to find some value on some unders with Taylor Heineke, especially if they get down, they may go to Allen to go for a spark here. And then finally, the other thing to look at here is the Eagles have been very slow start lately. If you look, they were down in that Giants game. They were down early in the Washington football game a couple weeks ago, and then it was tied at halftime, and then they were down early with the Giants. So I think at home in Washington, there might be some value with the Washington football team either in the first quarter or the first half, especially if the Eagles start slow again. There's a chance they can clinch a playoff spot, and this is a very young team, very young coaching staff, so I expect potentially a slow start for my beloved Eagles.
Good stuff, Matt Josephs. Telling you what's going to happen in the Eagles and the football team game. Andrew, I'm going to come to you. Jags and Pats. Gosh, man. We are big fans of James Robinson on this show. To see what happened with him last week was just an absolute bummer. Pats are a huge favorite. It's up to 16 points. So talk to us from a props perspective. What do you expect from the Jaguars and the Patriots?
Well, I'll tell you what, I hate that I've talked about the Patriots so much here. I feel like everybody from around my hometown is a Patriots fan. That's the closest team to where I live, and everyone's on that bandwagon, even when Tom Brady has left. So to set the record straight, I'm not a Patriots fan. It's just worked out this way the past few weeks. I have talked about Patriots gains. But look, I think that everybody's going to be lining up and talking about, bounce back spots and getting straight against for lack of better words, a piss poor team like the Jacksonville Jags. But I'm not so sure that's the case here. Obviously, I think they're going to win the game. but I wouldn't just go over here. I think that with the Patriots here, this is going to be like an axe scrimmage out there. They're going to work on things. Bill Belichick and every other coach in the world would probably agree that you cannot replicate gameplay in practice. Practice obviously is what helps teams, get better and, separates good coaches from bad coaches. But I don't always talk about team totals on this show, but I'm looking at the 29.5 for the Patriots here in this game. I'm going to look under, guys. I actually don't expect a crazy game plan going in this game. I expect it to be quite conservative for the Patriots, kind of, get back into rhythm. I think Mac Jones will definitely get his, but I'm not sure exactly. I haven't seen widely available for his completion props, but I actually might be looking towards the under just because if they do get up, they will be running the ball quite a bit. And Jacksonville, look, it's not like everybody's throwing the ball like crazy against them. They're running it as well. It's kind of been a big split. So, and as far as Jacksonville goes, it's just field goals for me because they cannot score. I don't think they can score touchdowns against this New England team right now. They can't. I think that if anything, we have their team total set at 12.5. If they get over that 12.5, it's a field goal fest for them. But as well, looking at the injury list piling up for this Patriots team, for everybody to make sure to keep their eye out on that. But last week I talked about some props for the Patriots. I did it previous week as well. I selected a few guys, but in this week I kind of wanted to just come on here, and since I've been talking about the same team quite a bit, don't load up here this week, guys, on this Patriots team. Look for unders, if anything. I saw Andy, he liked a tweet that was actually a reply to me yesterday. I had a funny tweet saying, who doesn't love watching an over? And somebody replied saying, well, unders are pretty fun too. If you like unders and if you like making money this week in this Jags and Pats, look towards unders on both parties here. I believe it'll be kind of a boring game between these two.
I thoroughly enjoyed that tweet. That was one of my favorite tweets I've seen somebody reply to about why he likes to bet unders. I think he said something like, if you bet an under and they go over, you just go, congratulations on the really good skill position players. And congratulations on a good game. And if you take down you're like, I knew they would suck. So it was a great tweet. Congratulations.
Well, that's what I'm hoping to get this weekend here with this game. Even though this spread is 12.5 right now, I'm hoping to look at this game and say, oh yeah, I knew that guy would drop a few passes.
Well, if you're hoping for a football team to suck, you're talking about the Jaguars. You're in a good spot. So I'm going to talk about the Cowboys and Cardinals. For whatever reason, I continue to just be right about the Cardinals. I've just had them pegged correct most of the year with player props. I don't like what I've seen from them, and I said they were going to lose last week to the Colts, and that was even before the Colts lost all of their offensive linemen. To lose that game to the Colts, who they literally had a practice squad offensive line, was really bad. So from a props perspective, I'm seeing complete disarray from the Cardinals running game. The running backs are in shambles right now as Connor's hurt. He's going to be a game time decision, but even if he plays, it's a heel injury. That's so difficult to play with. Chase Edmonds came back, and it almost feels like it disrupted their running game. If Kyler Murray doesn't have that one huge rush, their rushing numbers are really bad. And the Colts were without Darius Leonard last week. So I was listening to Greg Cosell from NFL Films. I have to give him credit for this. He was saying that teams have figured out to blitz Kyler Murray and play man coverage when they blitz, and it's really caused them problems. That's what the Colts and that's what the Lions did. And the Cowboys are one of the top two teams that blitz and put pressure on the quarterback and play man coverage in the secondary. And it was highlighting just how big the injury to DeAndre Hopkins has been. So props-wise, I'm going to be looking at Kyler Murray to go over his pass attempts. The running game has not been working. And when they get into third and fourth downs, it's normally long distance, so they have to throw. When you get those blitzes, Kyler Murray, he rushes around out of the pocket, but then he ends up throwing the ball. And he's gone over 40 attempts passing the last 3 games, and all 3 have been losses. They're underdogs in this game, and I think they're going to have to push it again. I don't trust this running game, so I'm going to be looking at Kyler Murray over his pass attempts. And from the Cowboys' perspective, I'm going to be looking at Zeke to have a good game. He only needed to rush the ball 9 times last week against Washington, which means he came out of that game a little bit rested. And they're saying he's looking at almost getting to 100% before the playoffs, which a month ago I would have never believed. But the Cardinals have been giving up rushing yards. We saw it last week. They gave up over 100 yards to Jonathan Taylor with that patchwork offensive line. They gave up over 100 yards to Reynolds of the Lions. So I would look for Zeke to have a good game as last week. It wasn't quite a bye, but only 9 carries was a really, really nice setup. Dak's been playing well, but I just can't take him over yet. I'll have to wait and see what the number is. But biggest plays in this one is going to be Kyler Murray over his pass attempts and Ezekiel Elliott over his rushing yards. So those are your 3 games. Matt, let's come to you. Promo time. Talk to us what we got from Matt Josephs at sportsmemo.com moving forward.
By the way, I'll add something to that. I think Zach Ertz continues to be value. I was going to make him my best bet, his receiving yards, but I'll be looking at his receptions. Dallas isn't great. We know that Zach Ertz has been, a really good addition for that Arizona team. I will probably have a college football play for one of the 2 big games coming up. A lot of my action was in the earlier bowl games today, so you can get that. But, look, in college basketball, we're putting up a lot of plays overnight. We're trying to beat the line moves, so it really pays to get the all-access, whether it's 3 days or 7 days, whatever you can do. That way you get the lines the moment I release them. Of course, we've been doing well in the player props as well, so that'll be part of this weekend with the NFL on Sunday. And as I said, there's not too many days left of college football, but we're seeing it really well right now, so you want to close out the year in style.
Nice. Matt Josephs from sportsmemo.com. Andrew from WagerTalk.com. What can we expect from you for this weekend?
Yeah, just a player prop package. I'll probably have a few out for clients, nothing out yet, but I just want to kind of reiterate what Matt said there, especially for my NHL. The fact of the matter is I'm not sacrificing information to get a play up earlier to try and sell it or to make money or to get more people to come on. And if people are seeing the success I'm having right now in the NHL and kind of have been having for the past few months here, you can buy a day pass. The second the day starts, you'll get every play released when it does get released, or you can buy a 3-day, 7-day, 1 month, so on and so forth. And Andy, I know you have a great NBA promo for us at the end of this show, or even for right now. And that's a great example of what you can kind of give people. That way they're not just looking for daily picks. With COVID protocols right now, I know last week Matt was talking about a key wide receiver in a college football game was literally announced out like an hour and a half before a game. We just don't want to deal with that stuff as handicappers right now. For me in the NHL, it's all about goaltending. I'm not so sure who I'm getting. So make sure you guys are looking at the WagerTalk page a little bit later than you mostly would have in the day. But 3 days, 7 days, great time to hop on board in the NHL.
Yeah, it's a really good point. Now it's almost more important than ever to just get a day pass or a week pass or a month pass. That way, as soon as plays come out, you're going to get a notification. That way you're not just waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. Oh, there comes a package up. So promotion time for me. Just NBA has just been incredible. I just checked. We were up over 71 units in NBA player props the last 5 weeks. So what we did is there are promo codes that you can use, but they can only be used once. So once a person uses it, that promo code is done forever. And there's only a few left. So if you use the promo code Andy4, Andy5, Andy6, or Andy7, you'll get $300 off the rest of the season for all my NBA plays and props. The price right now is $499, but you get $300 off, and it's only $199 for the rest of the season. We still have 6 months left of NBA plays. It's hard to believe, but we're looking at over 5.5 months of NBA plays. So it really is a great deal. Just use one of those promo codes: Andy4, Andy5, Andy6, and Andy7. Those are the 4 that are left. So. All right, let's get into some bigger picture topics. Matt, you and I texted it a little bit back and forth about this one. You're going to talk about specific units to pick on down the stretch in the NFL. So we're talking about like potentially some defensive units or some offensive units that we want to pick on that can provide us some value. So talk to us about what you discovered with this topic.
Well, I mean, I just think, down the stretch as we take a look at things, there are some units to take advantage of. I mean, for the first thing, you can look at the Cincinnati Bengals and look at tight ends against them. And I think that, of course, we've got Travis Kelce this weekend going up against that Cincinnati team. So he's certainly a candidate for explosion. And you can just look at some of these trends. I mean, this is where the intersection of fantasy football and, gambling comes into place here, because you look at some of these, like Yahoo has a great page that lists all the sort of players by position and how they've done against certain teams, and you could see who gives up a lot of catches, who gives up a lot of yards. I was ready to talk about Matt Stafford against the Ravens, and I was actually also ready to give out Matt Stafford over 2.5 touchdown passes at plus 170. But if you look at the weather, my goodness, there's a lot of rain and wind, and of course this is only Friday, so things can change, but rain and wind aren't exactly conducive to throwing touchdown passes. But the Baltimore Ravens have been giving up buckets of yards and buckets of receiving and things like that. So I definitely will be looking the last couple weeks. I don't know if Baltimore's going to make the playoffs, but if they do, I'll be looking to take advantage. Their secondary is just gashed right now. I actually saw Matt Stafford's longest completion is 40.5 yards, which is ridiculous, but he could potentially do it. It's probably going to be Cooper Kupp. It's probably going to be Odell Beckham here, but I will be certainly loading up on overs against the Ravens, especially if the weather is conducive to it, because their secondary is just ravaged by injuries and COVID and things like that. So if you want to try and find units, I know there's only a couple weeks left in the season, but there are still some teams that you can take advantage of down the stretch.
And also, I want you to talk to us a little bit about, you mentioned that at one point there were over 100 college basketball programs that were dealing with COVID outbreaks. I myself don't follow college basketball nearly like you do. So what's going on with college basketball right now? And are there any opportunities that you're looking at moving forward as these teams come back?
Well, I'll tell you this. I mean, I talked about it on the Wednesday college basketball show. I liked Providence in the first half. Seton Hall was coming off a COVID pause, and Providence won the first half. Washington also was a team that was coming off a COVID pause. They lost the first half against Seattle. Now, look, it's not going to hit every time. Richmond was playing St. Joe yesterday at home. St. Joe was coming off a mini COVID pause, and St. Joe was crushing them at halftime. So it doesn't hit every time, but really, when you take a look at these games and looking at these teams, you're going to see pauses, and you're going to see stretches where teams haven't played for 10 to 12 days, 17 days, 20 days. The key here, I think, is you have to look and see the games that were canceled. Was it because of the team, or was it because of the opponent? If it was because of the opponent, a lot of these teams are still going to be practicing, and they're still going to be working on their craft. And yes, it stinks to play a team off a 17-day rest, but at least they're practicing and staying fit. If they're off of a 17-day pause because they've had the COVID issues, remember, last year we talked about it. These teams, these guys were not allowed to leave their rooms. These guys were not allowed to practice, and if they did practice, it was by themselves, so there was no team practicing. The endurance is a little bit of a factor here. So I certainly will be looking to take on some of these teams that have the longer COVID pauses and playing against them in the first half. Of course, we may see a lot of games where both teams are coming off the COVID pause, in which case it's kind of like a wash to see what happens there. But yeah, as you said, over 100 teams right now on COVID pause, and they're going to come off of it eventually, and we'll take advantage of it on a case-by-case basis.
Such a great angle, fading teams in the first half on their first game back. such a great angle. Andrew, I'm coming to you. NHL player props as hockey returns. So we were talking a little bit about it, and the overs have just been flying around. So I'm assuming that means player props you're seeing a lot of overs with those. So what have we seen as hockey returns, and what's going to happen as these players get back into the swing of things?
Yeah, well, speaking of, fading teams, first game back, or even if they're lacking some players, that's exactly what we've seen in the NHL. I don't usually like to double dip, but I've even taken first period overs and games. I look at this as a prop perspective, and I'm the kind of the guy that always likes to talk about depth players. I like to try and look at third liners, guys even on the fourth line sometimes to get shots or a power play. Even if if it's a blowout, they might even toss on some of these guys to the power play deep into the lineup and get them. And it's unbelievable the value you can get. But I'm here today to say there's not really much value out there as far as those down the roster guys. Right now, you're looking at the best of the best. These guys aren't fatigued, Andy. They were at home. Sure, Christmas meal, absolutely. Have some fun. Maybe they had some wine and some drinks. Yes, these guys have Pelotons at home. They train all the time. These guys have not forgotten how to play hockey in 1 week. Every single time, That was the thing. Andy, I was messaging you about it. I told you I was real disappointed. No NHL, but I knew there's going to be a great betting opportunity when this league returned. And it has, and I have one for my best bet today is going to be in the NHL. Look at these guys in the top lines, shots on goal, because you're seeing so many power plays right now. Penalties are up right now as well, Andy. And again, that's due to the stick checking, laziness, really, hooking calls, not moving their feet, all of that good stuff. So look at those shots on goals. Look at the power play props, because those are ones I did a segment on that a month or two back on this show. And for some of these guys in the deeper end of the roster, like the guys that are on third line, matching up against some of these top tier players, that's where you want to look at your unders right now. My jaw will be dropped right now if in today's Edmonton game I see a third liner score, a real nice goal. It's just not going to happen. This is the time where you have to expect your best players to be your best players, and the teams that aren't seeing that are losing the games. The teams that are having their best players score are winning. That's not basic. Hockey's a sport of 4 lines. It's not just 3 players. It's not like NBA where you have your big 3, and if they don't convert, then you don't win. But right now, it kind of seems like the big 3 are the guys doing the bulk of the work here.
Nice. And it's a bold take by you, Andrew, that hockey players on a break over Christmas might have had a cocktail or two. Bold stance.
Yeah. Bold statement there.
But
I will. It's just kind of funny to me that people say like, I think these guys are going to be rusty. These guys aren't going to have their legs behind them. I'm like, do you know these guys have been playing hockey since before they could even walk? Like you know what I mean? Like these guys did not forget how to play the game in 1 week. Some of the tweets I saw, guys, it blows my mind. Like, yeah, these guys are going to be pretty rusty out there. What do you mean rusty? If anything, they're rested and ready to go.
I'm with you. That stance always makes me laugh too. A professional athlete somehow cannot play hockey after 1 week off. So good stuff. And, Matt and Andrew has just shown this COVID stuff. I know it has us all down, but there are ways to take advantage in the market and pad your bankroll. So any opportunity we get to take advantage, we can. So I want to finish out our segments with, I'm going to look at some NFL players to look at unders, as I think they may get shut down or they may have limited workloads, as I don't really see the motivation for them to get a lot of work. I'll start with Saquon Barkley. The Giants are just terrible. They cannot move the ball. They can't score any points. And I'm just not sure what they're getting out of having Saquon Barkley in their lineup. I think he only had like 33 or 34 yards last week. He does not have any explosion whatsoever. Devontae Booker is running the ball way better than him. So I would look at Saquon Barkley as if they get down in this game. I'm not sure why they would play him. Matt talked earlier about the Eagles and the football team. I'm skeptical about Antonio Gibson. The guy, kudos to him, played most of the season with a stress fracture, but they're losing out on the playoffs. I think they might be officially out. And if the Eagles get up, here's another situation where I don't know why Washington would want to put any more hits on him and any more wear and tear on that league. So I would look at Antonio Gibson and his under. DeAndre Swift is coming back. Of course, the Lions say they want to run him into the ground the next 2 weeks. I'm not sure what they're getting out of that. But we've seen the Lions running game do well without him, and they have Reynolds, they have Williams in there. So I know DeAndre Swift is full clean bill of health, and the coaches say they want to use him. But I would be a little bit skeptical as a full workload for Swift. And then the last duo, Russell Wilson and Tyler Lockett. Russell Wilson is talking about getting out of Seattle. He didn't even have 200 yards passing last week. I don't know why he would put himself in harm's way. And then Tyler Lockett said he lost 8 pounds when he had COVID. He came back and he had 30 yards receiving last game. So not really seeing the motivation for Russell Wilson and Tyler Lockett right now. So I would look at unders then with them. And then the other one is Alvin Kamara. Saints are out of it, and it's just been a nightmare season for them. They got an easy game against Carolina, but again, I don't know why Sean Payton would want Alvin Kamara to have 20 to 25 touches in a game that kind of means nothing. So might look at Alvin Kamara under as a sneaky one. So, all right, gentlemen, let's get to some best bets. Let's give our people something they can put their money behind. Matt Josephs from sportsmemo.com. I'm coming to you first. You're making a play on a game I'm going to be at on Sunday. So talk to us about the Raiders.
Yeah, clearly I'm placating you by playing this play. I think you actually probably told me to do it because I'm taking the under on the Raiders team total, and it's 17.5 on DraftKings, which I thought was very high because the Raiders, since their bye week, have only gone over this number once. That's it, once. And they've won some games, and they've won some low-scoring games, but they still have gone under this number. And I love it. You know, in team totals, a lot of times we don't get the key numbers. You get a lot of 16.5s or like 20.5, not 20.5, maybe a 19.5, because they don't want you to have the nice, neat, even number. But here, at least on DraftKings, it's 17.5, and I'm going to take it. You know, the Colts are getting lucky that Darius Leonard's going to be able to play in this game, even though he's unvaccinated, and some of the other guys and their defense is pretty much intact. And you look at the last couple weeks, they held a potent Arizona team to 16. They held a semi-potent New England team to 17. They shut out Houston. I mean, Houston's a really good, potent offense right now, apparently. They held Buffalo to 15 points. So this is a really good unit that's gone under this number in a bunch of the last games that we've seen. So I'll take under 17.5 points for the Raiders, who are pretty impotent right now when it comes to offense.
Couldn't agree with you more on that play. I think that's great. And yeah, getting the hook on that 17 is a really, really nice, slick way to take advantage of a bad Raiders offense and a good Colts defense. Andrew, coming to you. You talked about NHL props and shots, and now you're going to give us a specific one we can play today, right?
I am, Andy, and you know, I did mention that it's not going to be the biggest, value or big plus price, but a winner's a winner here. We're going with Jonathan Marchessault, the Vegas Golden Knights, over 2.5 shots. You can get that anywhere between -140 and -145. And some might be thinking, why is this guy on here giving out a -145? Look, these shots on goal prices are listed the way they are for a good reason. Right now, this guy is scoring. He's passing the puck very well, setting up his teammates, and he's getting lots of ice time. Of course, this is going back to even before the pause happened, but he had a great game, 2 goals, 1 helper in the first game back against the LA Kings. They're playing the Anaheim Ducks tonight, a team that I believe overachieved in the first part of the NHL season. They're going to rely heavily on their goaltending, Andy. They've got 2 great goaltenders, Gibson and Stolars. If those guys aren't making 30, 35 saves a night, they're getting demolished. I don't think the Ducks are as good as the standings say they are, and I feel like tonight we'll continue to see shots on goal here. Jonathan Marchessault, over 2.5 shots.
Great stuff from Andrew McInnis at WagerTalk.com. I'm going to the NBA with my Indiana Pacers in an afternoon game today. I'm going to take Domantas Sabonis under 19.5 points. He's had 16 or fewer points in 5 straight games. He's 1 for 12 on his last few 3-point shots last 6 games. He's not getting a lot of shot attempts. He's not interested in being with this Pacers team. Pacers team is in complete disarray. We don't really know how to attack teams. We're losing games we shouldn't. It's not a good team to watch. And now Malcolm Brogdon and Duarte are out with COVID, which means the Pacers offense is going to be even worse. They're playing the Bulls today. Vucevic and DeRozan should be able to handle Sabonis and Miles Turner. I just know in watching this Pacers team, they're very clunky. Sabonis looks disinterested, and this number, I don't know why it keeps going up. They used to have it at 18.5. They keep bumping it up to 19.5, despite the fact he's going under. So I feel like we're getting a point or 2 more. I believe he only had 9 shot attempts last game. So if you're not getting that many shot attempts, you're not going to go over this number. So give me Domantas Sabonis under 19.5 points. Let's do a best bet recap for here on Prop It Up for our last show of 2021. I am going to be going with Domantas Sabonis under 19.5 points. Andrew McInnis, Jonathan Marchessault over 2.5 shots on goal, and Matt Josephs going with the Raiders under 17.5 points. Gentlemen, that's going to wrap it up for us. It's been a great 2021. That is Andrew McInnis at WagerTalk.com. Matt Josephs over at SportsMemo.com. I am Andy Lang at WagerTalk.com. Have a great New Year's Eve. We will see you next week on Prop It Up.
Andy Lang has been with WagerTalk for 2 years and has crushed bookmakers in golf and auto racing, picking up 65% in profit in golf and 36% in auto racing, increasing his clients' bankrolls by an incredible 101%. There are over 40 golf tournaments and 50 auto racing events to wager on in 2022, and Andy Lang is offering a special on both sports for a limited time, saving his clients over $1,100 versus the retail price. Purchasing these golf, NASCAR, and Formula One selections on an individual sport and weekly basis would cost you over $1,500 from January 6, 2022 to August 28, 2022. But for a limited time, you can lock in all of these releases, including rare 5% best bets for only $3.99, coming out to just $1.70 per day. Just go to Andy Lang's homepage at WagerTalk to lock in this amazing golf and auto racing combo offer.